Hey guys, Uncle Ray, welcome to another episode of the Crypto Bellwether. In this video, we're going to talk about what I believe are the top 5 true blue chips in crypto. Now, a lot of people just go to the top 10 of market cap and say those are the ones. But guys, I disagree. I believe Wall Street disagrees. The whales definitely disagree. And I think what I call the smart money disagree, because this is a young asset class. It's starting to mature and no one knows how to measure their value, but that day is coming. Just like stocks use price earnings ratio that projects how much money they make now and are going to in the future. And I've never been around, and I've been around a long time, any asset that doesn't make money being a good long-term investment. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to look at those 5 projects: AERODROME, Hyperliquid, TRON, Ethereum, and Solana. And we're going to look at the adoption, guys. Who's using these projects? Who's building on these projects? And how much money do they make? And as I did this deep dive, it was about just AERODROME and Hyperliquid, about how much money they make and their upside. Well, Grok kind of brought some stuff to my attention that it's not just how much money it makes. The most important thing is how much feeds back into the token holders and the ecosystem. So I just want to give you some alpha, because guys, 90% of everyone investing in crypto lose money. And I want to change that. I want to get you not only in that 10% group, I want to get you in the people that make life-changing gains. And I believe that people can do that in the next 5 months. Now I want to be clear, there's 1,000 ways and reasons that can pump any crypto at any time. But tokenomics and market cap, how much money they make, adoption, and things like that truly matter. And the whole point of that I harp on constantly is, if you're looking to hodl and these projects aren't making any money, it's pure speculation. And no matter how high they pump in this cycle, they will be coming back. And it makes 0 sense to hold something and watch it die and maybe go down 90, 97% and never come back for 4 or 5 years and wait when you can put that money to work. You don't want to lose the opportunity cost on your money. All right, so hit that like button. Let's dive into it, and I'm going to just throw some alpha at you, and we'll look at all those charts. I'll give you some price predictions. All right, been a great week in crypto. Now, I don't believe we're in altcoin season. Yesterday I made a video talking about it, and if you haven't watched that, I'll leave a link at the end. You can click, the ones that come up at the top. It's a great video of how to tell and what to look for when it comes to altcoin season, and it's bulletproof in my opinion. But as you can see, look at that, guys. AERODROME, which is dropping, has been up over 70% for the week. It's at 66.9 right now, leading the top 100 coins. Now, the reason I'm talking about all 5 of these is this is just something that Grok led me down, guys. And if you don't use Grok, man, you're probably not doing any real research. But if you are going to, don't be biased. Don't look for bias confirmation, right? What you want is to make a statement. Like, a lot of people hate on what I say, for example, but this will help you if you want to do some research. Type into Grok, the Crypto Bellwether said this. Exactly, quote me, say prove me right, prove me wrong. That's how you want to use Grok, because you can manipulate Grok to kind of get you to the point of what you want if you ask it the right way, because they don't really understand it. But it's a great tool. But as I dove into why Hyperliquid shouldn't explode and why AERODROME shouldn't explode, because how much money they make, he said, well, there's other projects that are even better, because not only do they make a lot of money, it's really how much feeds back into the ecosystem to support the devs and the growth of the ecosystem, and how much feeds into a flywheel that goes back into the ecosystem and to the token holders, which if you think about it, guys, it makes sense. Why do you think tokens or stocks keep going up like Tesla and Nvidia? They keep hitting their numbers. They just make money and money and money. And no matter what, guys, if Nvidia missed, say, 3/4 of their numbers, that stock will drop 50%. Same with Tesla. It's about money. And outside of, when you take away the speculation, the tribalism, the hype, the marketing, or whatever of any project, if it doesn't make money, I truly believe it doesn't have a good future as a good investment. Now, check this out, guys. We got to talk about Coinbase to talk about AERODROME, but there's a lot of alpha in understanding where Coinbase is coming from and with their roadmap. See, people don't ever want to compare. And I want to be clear, guys, that you can go do some biased research that goes, oh, just give me a sexy story. Give me all the numbers about any token. Seriously, any good project. And it sounds amazing. Oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Oh, look at all this adoption. But then you compare it to the adoption of a Coinbase or the adoption to JP Morgan's blockchain or the adoption to what PayPal's doing or Circle, and you start to laugh. And there's a lot of projects like Visa and FIS Global and Pfizer Serve that people don't even look at, but they are the dominant players and they're taking over crypto. Now, when it comes to Coinbase, I'm going to go through some numbers of these projects, how much they make. But Coinbase has an infrastructure. So imagine this. Coinbase has an exchange. We know that's the future, right? Crypto exchanges are needed and it's leading the way. Finance could be, but I think they're going to be regulations going to come after them. I don't trust them as far as they can throw them. I don't like Coinbase because of the fees, but I think it is going to be the dominant exchange. But it's like, imagine an exchange and a fintech payment company and a bank and a custodial company all in one. And it's probably going to bring on a perpetual DEX in the very near future. So it's looking to dominate everything. And again, guys, it's about comparing. Take your favorite project that you hear so much about that is doing amazing and compare it to the numbers they're doing. If you're going to be the future dominant project, what are you waiting on? Right? The tech's coming out every day, new projects are coming out every day with the companies on Wall Street and the banks that have all the customers. You got to start comparing. Well, one stat I'm going to throw at you is mind-blowing. Coinbase settled $9 trillion in a day. Now, let me put that in context. There's only probably 3, 4, 5 companies in the world that can ever do that. You got JP Morgan settling between 11 and 16 trillion. You got FIS Global. You've got Pfizer Serve and a few others, maybe like a Visa and MasterCard. They're the true dominant players and they're getting stronger and stronger. Well, if you're going to compare who's going to be in that mix, it's Coinbase, guys. And another, how to put that in context, all of your favorite, let's just say ISO tokens, which I can hear the FUD BS right now. It's not FUD, guys, it's a fact. If you add up how much all your favorite Dino tokens has settled in a lifetime, Coinbase just did that in a day. Now, who do you think's going to be the future when it comes to the flow of money and settlement? They have a plan to take over banks and payments just like everyone else. And it's a badass plan. All right, let's look at some prices for AERODROME, and then we'll look at the price. I'm going to give you some price predictions for AERODROME and Hyperliquid, but we're also going to talk about TRON, Ethereum, and Solana. Now, let's back up. Before I do, I want to just throw those numbers at you. Guys, TRON makes $960 million a year. And they are the dominant. They give back like 50 99% of the revenue into the ecosystem. Ethereum's the next one. They make 1.3 billion a year, and like 42% feeds back into the ecosystem. Guys, that's where value comes from. Like, and I just want to make something clear, guys. A token like Ethereum and Bitcoin are deflationary. You can't be deflationary until you pretty much have more money or more tokens being burned or eliminated than is in that dumps every day. So realistically, you can't be deflationary when you have bad tokenomics, right? It has to be pretty much fully diluted. Don't let anyone lie to you or kid you. Now, Hyperliquid is, again, makes $1.1 billion a year. Now, those numbers are not matching up because every time I literally type it into Grok, he changes it. So I want to be clear. Ethereum, Tron, Hyperliquid, and Solana go back and back. Whoever has the best week makes the most money, but they're all world beaters. And they make more money in a day than, like I said, all the ISO tokens have in their lifetime combined. Let that sink in, guys. And they dominate adoption. When you compare their ecosystems to whatever your favorite token is, it's not comparable, right? Especially those tribal tokens. Get on Grok and say, hit me with some revenue, some adoption. Like, think about it, guys. Have you ever used your favorite token? Well, my biggest bag's Ethereum. Probably my second biggest is Solana. But I've used this. Everyone that is in crypto has used Ethereum. Everyone has used Solana, right, for transaction fees. Everyone's used AERODROME. Everyone's used Uniswap. I have never used Tron personally, and I've never been a big fan, but we're going to look at the chart, and it's impressive. And the reason I wasn't a big fan of Tron is basically it doesn't dominate in the U.S., and I think that's important. All right, so let's move forward. And guys, if you don't know how to use marketcapof.com, guys, this is a great tool because look, here's some more alpha. One thing I see in crypto is people want you to FOMO. And if I tell you something's going to $5 and there's 100 people telling you it's going to 500, you don't want to hear the $5. You want to hear the 500. So you're going to keep going back to those people. But here's why that's so dangerous and why I hate misinformation. And if you're going to make a price prediction, you need to back it up with some merit, not some hype and flat out FOMO. You know, I've been told, like, Ray, you hate X project or X community, whatever that community is, because you're always hyping on them, always fudding it. And I tell them every time, I believe the influencers in the tribal projects, they don't respect their communities, or they wouldn't lie to them. I tell you, Ethereum's my biggest bag, Solana's right behind it, and every time I tell you that I own something, I tell you why, but I tell you the good, the bad, and the risk, the downside. Most people don't do that. Be aware of that. But anyway, go to market cap of, guys. This is a realistic, might not be what you want to hear, but that's what this channel is all about. The reason it's so dangerous, like we'll use AERODROME, if I tell you it's got maybe a 10x in it, and people are telling you it has 100x, you're not going to sell. That's why people get wrecked. You're not going to sell. Why would you sell something that you think is going to go to the moon and you get a Lambo if you just hold another month? Well, when this altcoin season's over, guys, these things are going to come crashing down. Hopefully you know how to short. I'm excited about that. But anyway, AERODROME and Uniswap pretty much are kind of the same type of DEX. Uniswap has more change and more global presence, but AERODROME beats it in almost every category, especially when it comes to making money. But in transaction everything, AERODROME is dominating. So you could easily justify AERODROME should be at Uniswap's price point right now, in my opinion, because when it's not even remotely up to anywhere close to its all-time high. Well, let's just say the AERODROME can get to where Uniswap went in its last cycle. So if it only goes to where it is now and it's been beaten down, that's a 6x. So I believe AERODROME is a 6x minimum from here for altcoin season. Now, upside, probably a 20x. And it could go a lot higher, but it won't do it with my money. I own it. I want to stack more, but I believe you're looking between 6 and 20x. You know, give me a 10, 15x, and I will definitely be gone. Now, when you look at the chart, guys, that's a pretty good looking chart. That's market cap. Hold on, let's get the price. That's a good looking chart, and it's starting to grow. And I believe, no matter what, it has not made a new all-time high in this bull run. And, you know, one thing I teach in my coaching is get that initial investment out, and you're good. And there's plenty of room to double, triple your money. Get out your initial investment, let it ride as much as you want. Now, let's talk about Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid I've been making many videos about for a long time now, same with AERODROME. But here's one thing I want to mention, because it is a DEX. Now, it's a very unique DEX, and it compares, you know, you can go short and long and do perpetuals on there, and the whales are just using it every day. And it makes a ton of money that feeds, it has 2 flywheels to keep feeding the token holders and the ecosystems. Their burns matter. They're massive, guys. They're absolutely massive, right? A lot of projects have burns, but it's a fraction of a percent, and then they keep dumping on you. Hyperliquid doesn't do that. Now, I didn't know who to compare, what project to compare Hyperliquid, because it's very, very unique. Now, there's going to be a lot of competition coming from it. And by the way, I've done a video talking about if it's altcoin season and Hyperliquid. I'll post both of them at the end if you want to watch those. A lot of alpha in that. But Grok actually brought to my attention, Ray, Solana would be a good comparison. And I even typed back, see, this is non-biased research. I said, you know, Solana's a layer 1, which they both are, but it has a whole ecosystem, and it does a lot more than Hype does. But Grok basically said, well, it doesn't do perpetuals, ... and it compared. And when you look at the transactions, see, that's all that really matters. Transactions, how much money they make, Hype's right there with it. So, when you look at where Hyperliquid is today, if you say, well, Solana's pretty beat down, not grossly beat down, but it should be able to get there. I agree. That's a 6x. I believe, no ifs and buts about it. If we have a good altcoin season, Hyperliquid's going to go to a 6x. Now, if it goes to Solana's all-time high, you're looking more of a 8 or 9x. So I think it can get there. And I also believe that Solana will be 3x from here. So these numbers might sound like, wow, that's Solana's old all-time high. That's pretty aggressive. But I think Solana's new all-time high, Hype won't be able to get there. Could be wrong. But anyway, let's look at Hyperliquid's chart. Guys, it doesn't get any better than that. And this pullback right here was that they had an issue, a small hack or whatever it was with the whale, if I remember correctly. But guys, this thing is one of the best looking charts in crypto. Now, you want to see probably the best looking chart? It's TRON. See, no one talks about it. TRON beats most projects in every category, but it's not tribal, doesn't have a big fan base, they don't do marketing. It is what it is. But TRON, guys, think about it. Look at that chart. Now, to be very, very clear, this chart looks amazing from here. But you know how I tell you that 90% of all projects never hit a new all-time high in its second bull run? And you can go back and study history, right? IOTA, XRP, XLM, and on and on. TRON is another example. Now this is important because another important thing that I say, and this is probabilities, guys. People go, well, you're wrong. I can't be wrong on facts and probabilities. But the probabilities is there's only really been 2 projects in the history of crypto to ever make a new all-time high in its 3rd bull run that didn't in its 2nd. So TRON is the token. But why do you think that happened? Well, the reason it didn't make a new all-time high in its 2nd bull run is because it kept dumping. Well, now it's pretty much fully diluted. Now there's been another token, which was Mantra. I'm not going to call it a scam, but they had a rig. They were buying back their tokens and buying more tokens, right? So they had a flywheel going. They'd buy the dips and then keep buying it up, right? And keep, you know, so and Mantra crashed. So really, if you own a token, and I hate talking about XRP, all the crying. The only point I want to make is I personally don't want to own a token, especially real money, that has to be a very, very big exception for me to do pretty good. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that XRP or any token can't come out of nowhere and make a new all-time high that's never made a new all-time high in its 2nd. That could happen. But it puts them in the category of only 3 tokens that have ever done that, and one is very suspect. So, do with that information as you will. Alright. But TRON, guys, I think the only thing I can say is it hasn't hit its it will make another new all-time high. Ethereum makes a ton of money, has the biggest, baddest ecosystem. Wall Street loves it, has a spot ETF. Guys, whether we like Ethereum or not, it checks the boxes for Wall Street. I hate to get the fees. I don't like anything out about Ethereum, to be honest, but it's my biggest bag. Why is that? The risk reward. About 6 or 7 months ago, I decided that I was tired of all the BS of some of this hype going on and this fake information and the lack of real, opportunities that were going to maybe last. And I decided that I would place my biggest bet that Ethereum would hit a new all-time high. That was my only bet. I'm not going to claim it's going to, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, which it could. It could easily go to 8, 9, or 10. But it'll do it without my money. Once it gets a little bit higher, actually I may start doing it here shortly. If it spikes in the next week, I'm going to take out my initial investment, start grabbing handfuls. I'm good to go. And if we're lucky, this thing's going to spike and I can roll that money into some dry powder. Alright, and I still don't think it's too late, but if I was telling someone to buy Ethereum, it would have to be on a swing trade pullback on leverage like I did on XRP about a month ago. Bought it under $2 and I sold it at like $3.40, and it took a week and it was a 3x leverage. I think that's the way to go. And let me make another statement, and people are not going to like this, but I'm here for you guys. I want you to make money. I personally believe you are an a-hole if you keep promoting a token that's pushing its all-time high. You're lying to people. I did a video, and I'll leave a link at the end. How many make a 2, 3, 4x? There's never been a token make a 5x from its all-time high. Never. In a second bull run. Think about that, guys. Not one. So when you're telling someone to buy a Solana or Ethereum or whatever at these prices, you need to be honest with them. The top is a 5 or 6x, and that would be an immensely extreme. From here, guys, you're going to be lucky to double your money. And it takes a real prick, in my opinion, to tell someone to buy $4 $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 Ethereum, to buy $250 Solana, to buy, you know, $3.60 XRP, and so on and so forth. Because all they're going to do, there's no life-changing gains. You can all but guarantee it. There's not many guarantees in crypto, but when you study history, I'm all about probabilities. I mean, anything's possible, but that's gambling. I can take $100 and go, you know, to Vegas and let it ride and become a millionaire. The probabilities are almost zero, right? So when someone tells you that a token that is at its all-time high right now is going to make you life-changing gains in this bull run, they shouldn't have a community, because they're very dishonest in my opinion. All right, let's look at Solana. It's at 182, guys. If Solana pulls back, I'm probably going to swing trade it again on low leverage. And again, guys, for me, for whatever this is worth, I can't wait to short these new all-time highs. I short a lot of, you know, I'm always looking for two things. Any project pumping towards its all-time high, I'm looking to short it right before it gets there, right when it gets there, and hopefully we get a short squeeze. And for people that don't understand that, if Solana gets back up to its all-time high of what, 260, whatever it is, 257, when it gets to that price, the odds are it's not going to go straight through it. It's going to pull back. I'm there to short it. Scalp shorted on pretty aggressive leverage. It'll probably hit it again, and then it'll go through it. Right when it goes through it, I'm going to short it again. But then if it goes through it again and starts to pump, it's going to short squeeze, and it's going to wreck everyone that's been shorting. I want to short from there. I don't really short the downside, for whatever that's worth. That's what I teach in my shorting course. And I also don't short that when it breaks down. I short when it breaks out, until this altcoin season is over, and then you hopefully can short every pump.